the most important investment we can make is the investment into ourselves. And so I don't mean go out and spend money and buy shoes and stuff. I mean like investing in your education, and there's formal and non-formal. Investing in your body and your health, because health is wealth. A healthy man, wants a million things. An unhealthy man wants one thing. So always make that investment to yourself.
This one's for you and you and you and you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.
Talo for everyone, welcome back to another Organic Talanoa. You're here with Aongomalia Sione Sione. Thank you for those who have made comments into our channel. Also, those who have subscribed. I'd like to also thank Ministry of Pacific People for their support. Our team here at Campfire Studios, Will and Guy, and also Miranda Davis for her work in the background. Today's awesome guest, Dawson Marama, who's a relationship manager for Toi Mai and also a founder of many projects. So welcome to Organic Talanoa, brother.
Yeah, malo whawhetai also. My name's Dawson Marama Feagai. My mother's from Rotorua, Te Aroa Ngati Whakaue, and she's also Cook Island, from Takuvaine Avarua over Rarotonga, and my dad's full Samoan, so they're from Savai Lefanga and Savitoa Lefanga. But I grew up in the mighty West Auckland, home of the Auckland Rugby Champions for schoolboy rugby. Went to Custom Boys, proud to be from West Auckland, but also proud of my Pasifika Maori heritage as well. So thank you for having me. Also, pleasure to be here.
Nice, bro. Just picking up on there. So I guess 3 identities there.
Yeah.
How's that? Like, connecting in. So I always think back to Talanoa on when people sometimes they talk about pronunciation.
Yeah.
Obviously you would have probably heard, like myself, it's either hit Sione or Sion. Probably I heard that one come through. But, for myself, it's just the way it's probably just helped other people to be able to pronounce it properly. And no doubt with yours, Feagai.
Yeah.
So, for yourself, bro, it's like identifying with the 3, like how have you found that growing up?
Yeah, I think like hindsight's a wonder of things. And I think growing up, I used to get called Feagai, Marama. And with the boys, you laugh it off. But as I get older and I understand, that our ancestors are proud of our last name that they've handed down to us, I started taking a stance on just politely correcting people on how to pronounce my name. For when I was younger, I didn't really, I suppose I never really, knew that I was Maori or Pasifika. Like I knew it, but I just thought I was just like everyone else at school. But as I got older and I became a bit more conscious and seeing, my grandfather being very proud of their heritage, I started taking a bit of pride, I suppose, in my Pasifika heritage and my Maori heritage as well. And even to this day, like the time is now for us to be in these leadership positions. And it's, I always get a shoulder tap for roles because I can tick both boxes. But for me, whenever I think about a role for me, I always think about 3 things. Can I make an impact for Maori? Can I make an impact for Pasifika? And can I make an impact for rangatahi? And if any role or any project that I work on, if I can't do all 3 of those, then that's probably not the role for me. So, yeah, I think it's a blessing now. But when I was growing up, it was just normal, like Marama, Feagai, Feagai. No one really said it right. So, yeah.
I guess you're right too. Is like wouldn't think too much of it back then, but as you understand, getting older, then you're sort of like, oh, nah. I mean, they're not going to know any better. We need to sort of help correct them as well as you go through. Sure. When I'm looking a bit with Toi Mai, Toi Mai, Yep. So when we're talking about that, the work that you're doing there, a lot of that is around the Maori Pacific people, eh?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm currently a relationship manager for Toi Mai Workforce Development Council, and we deal with probably the functions of my role is we develop qualifications, we review qualifications, and we endorse programs, and within there's quite a bit more stuff that we do, but those are the 3 main functions that we sort of look across. One of the reasons I came to Toimai was because there's an opportunity to change education, and I wanted to be a part of it. And when I say change education, I mean removing the barriers for Māori in Pasifika. We all know, like, Aotearoa is full of people pointing out systemic barriers, pointing out systemic issues, but we're in a phase now where we need solution-focused people. We've got enough, I suppose, data to say these are the problems, and they're consistent problems and they're intergenerational problems, but now we need to start creating some solutions and implementing them. So, like I said, I'm truly passionate about helping Māori Pasifika and our rangatahi. And as I was saying just before, like, it's for me, I understand that my role is maybe building that foundation of change, and I might not be a recipient of the fruits of the worlds, but if my kids and if your kids and if our kids can benefit from that change, then I'm doing my part in the system, just like our ancestors before us. And so that's the reason why I came across to Toimai.
Are you based solely up here, or you actually, is it a regional role?
We got a bit of national travels also. I just got back from Wellington yesterday. And I do look after a bit of regions, but yeah, I suppose the beauty now of being Māori in Pasifika is I get pulled in to multiple spaces based on my experience. I suppose 10, 15 years ago, it wasn't really a popular thing to have Māori Pasifika point of views. But like I said, we understand that the systemic barriers have been intergenerationally existing, and there's some people at the table who want to see real change, and like any government initiative, like, change takes time.
Yeah.
But, like I said, I understand my place. I understand that the change that I want to see is not tomorrow. The change that I want to see is for my kids. So when they come through their university system, that they can have access rather than barriers.
Yeah, nice. I go sort of just listening today. You've been in training institutes, for a while. So around that would have been, is that working with a lot of youth? Were you?
Yeah, if you when I was at Caston, I was never the best student. I always tell people it took me 5 years to get a 3-year degree. So if it wasn't for the support of my family, who sort of helped with the outside things, I probably would have never graduated. But I managed to get there, and I never really saw myself as an educator. I thought, I wanted to work in sport, but with working with rangatahi, I sort of identified people that I could relate to. So people who didn't have their father around, people who were disconnected from their culture, stuff that was similar to my upbringing. And I felt energized by it, by helping youth. It's a hard feeling. I felt like I was flowing in a river when I was working with youth.
Yeah.
Some of the other jobs I had, I didn't feel like that. I felt like it was a grind. You knew me when I was younger. I used to wake up and got to go work in a timber yard, but I never really felt like that with youth, and so it was sort of like an unintentional calling. But I just love working with rangatahi. I get energized by it, and I like trying to inspire them, understanding that they're in their behaviors and attitudes they might be displaying is informed by their environment. So we can't sit around and get angry at them, because some of these rangatahi are just trying to survive. They're not actually, where if you think about what we want them to do is thrive. But when you're figuring out where your next meal is, you can understand why they might be late to class, or why they might be not listening or not paying attention. And so one thing I sort of realized being a creative and a problem solver is I could make boring things fun. And that was just going away from traditional types of teaching and doing a bit more hands-on and a bit more video research and stuff that was sort of identify that was relatable to them, rather than going to, you go read this, you go read that. So just being adaptable and to the current state and environment.
And it's amazing how when you change it, rather than being textbooks, I guess, they're looking outside, and it's good that you've identified through experience that maybe there's not one way of teaching these students. I'm just thinking back to you, foundations. Yeah. Foundations. So obviously, and you pointed out that you weren't probably the best student, but you've grinded away. So I guess noticing when I'm thinking back now, you actually did a little part-time work before you came into Timbia. So how was that, in terms of for your foundations, like helping you grow as a person. Like you were here in school holidays, you were doing the work, and timber yard, being at places isn't it's not the easiest role.
Yep.
So how did that help you out, I guess, as a person for your development?
Yeah, probably a couple of things also that I'll highlight is I got to hang around with people that were older than me. One thing I always appreciate about the places in Mount Wellington was that there was a lot of Pasifika people around. So like I didn't like doing the job, but I enjoyed the social side of work, Sweeping a timber yard is boring, but sweeping a timber yard while mocking workmates makes it enjoyable, So the actual workplace environment and actually seeing people that looked like me was helpful, but also helped me mature. I became a dad at 17, so, I ended up staying in the timber yard a bit longer than I wanted to. But in saying that, you guys also helped me mature, because you're a little bit older than me. So some of the things that I was thinking, you were able to sort of like realign my thinking with people around you, and then we'll just have like Talanoas, like after we'd finish our orders, we'll just sit back and chill, or we'd have feeds together, and just sort of get to know other sides of life. Because I was still young, like I understand. I suppose my mum used to call me a tutu, but I like to say I was curious, and so like I had people like yourself, Rob, Ben, that would just give me a bit of guidance around some of my naive thinking at the time and say, oh no, you should actually do this. And I remember, I think I was talking to you saying I didn't want to go to uni, and you're like, bro, you should go if you've got opportunity, go. You don't really get people like that when you hang around people your own age, so the mentorship, the guidance, and the friendship is probably something I'll take away from that. And then just forming good habits. Actually having to get up every morning, Sunday, 6 o'clock, get to work by 7, and then clock out at 5, like just helped me form good habits that I've sort of applied to the rest of my career. The timber yard was not for me, but I still had some great learnings there. And I think even post that, all the jobs that I sort of did, I never took them as losses if I didn't continue them as a career. I was like, it was more like learnings of it. Oh yeah, I don't want to be a scaffolder. Oh yeah, they want to work at a timber yard. Oh yeah, they want to sell clothes. So like it was like, I'll try it, not for me, and then just repivot. So great experiencing.
Probably good too that you actually got to work with the old man.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is probably another thing, like you did mention, probably not knowing your dad, but just the role of your dad. I guess we're going to call him your dad, Simon. How significant that was. So I guess like just a bit of understanding for people, like who Simon actually was, and just as his role he played in your life.
Yeah, for sure. So Simon's my grandfather, so he's my mum's dad. Huge backbone of our family. For myself, a lot of the things I like to do come from him. So I like sport because I used to go with him to sport when I was little, like while my mum was working. I like the social side of sport as well because, when he used to referee, he used to have a beer afterwards, so I enjoy that sort of stuff. But he was also a good chat, but just someone that was in a routine. Like he was a good role model. Like he helped me get the job. He used to take me to work, help me buy my first car. We used to have chats about what I should be doing as a father, not going out with my mates, and putting a bit more time into being a kid. When I have a dad who's a Pākehā man that my mama remarried, but my biological dad's Samoan, and so I knew who he was, but when I was confused as a kid. So I had my grandfather, I had my Pākehā dad, and then I had my biological dad. And I think I've got 6 siblings. I got 1 full sibling. And so I knew who he was, but I didn't know the whole, how he didn't end up in our life. I just knew that this guy was dead. But as a kid, I sort of noticed he wasn't giving me the attention I wanted, and I just craved it. And so, like I was saying before, your environment informs your attitudes and behaviors and values. And I never really knew I had an issue with my dad until it's about 18, 19, and I realized that his non-presence in my life affected me. But there's like a stigma with men, you don't talk about your feelings. So I just bottled it up and I suppressed the feelings. But, you know, like a fizzy can, anytime you shake it, every time you try to suppress something, as soon as you let something open, it would crack. And the first time I cracked was when I was drinking with my family. And I just noticed I got triggered real quick. He said something about parenting. And then it just, boom, like a bomb exploded. And I was like, oh, what do you know about parenting? And I just went on a tangent, you know. And the next day, like I never dealt with it. Like I never truly dealt with it. I just, you know, it will never happen again. And it's happened again and it happens again. So, you know, like I said, hindsight's a beautiful thing. I can understand that my dad was the way he is based on his environment and upbringing. And it's just not his fault. It's not his fault that he wasn't there. It didn't mean that he didn't love me. But, you know, I can't blame him for anything. Like I can't keep blaming him for the way he was raised and how he didn't have anyone to communicate to. And so once I started unpacking it with some close mates and the support of my family, I sort of realized that everyone that loved me was around. You know, and so like my mum, my aunties, my mum's siblings, they were always there, and my grandfather. And it comes back to him. He was always there. Like took me to my first sevens, used to take me to rugby games. We went to the Super Rugby games together. Like he's the reason I love the Blues, because he loved the Blues. And so like we'd go over and, you know, I just sit there and watch with him. And even now, I try to go over and watch the All Blacks with him. So a huge part of my life and my upbringing, but also just some of the values, like he's just a good laugh, good yarn, great entertainment, similar to myself.
Probably good that, I mean, the people were always in front of you. I mean, I know you were probably actually looking for something else, but to know that support was there. Good to hear too that, you know, like even reaching out to your friends, you know, the ones that actually you understand that they kind of get you. So it's good that you had picked that out. I mean, being a young dad as well, how did you find like that with these, well, you probably had already known that, well, one, you're always going to be in your kid's life, you know, so just from that. But how was that? How was that for yourself? Very at that age, 17, what was it?
17, well, like I said, like when I think back the way I felt with my dad, I sort of passed on to my kids, like I would always be present in my boy's life. But man, I feel sorry for my oldest boy because he gets it a lot harder than my younger two. So I got 3 kids. My oldest is 17, then I got 7 and 6. But my big boy was probably more like a brother. He was there for me like during some low parts of my life. And so like we grew up together sort of thing. And I suppose for him it's probably confusing because I'd be his best friend, but then I'd also be the discipliner when things weren't going right. And when I can think back now, like he was probably a little bit confused, like, hey, we're just best friends before, and then now we're not. Now you're telling me off. So a lot of the parent I am today is thanks to him, because I just didn't know. Also, I was young. All I knew is that I never wanted my son to call anyone else dad. And there's no like book on how to be a dad. So, and even now, like I'm still learning how to, teach my kids how to communicate, so that they don't have to have bottled up feelings.
Is there resource around like support for young dads like yourself?
Nah, I never, I can't think of any young dad. Like I didn't even reach out, but you know, like I said in my previous question, that I'm thankful that I had strong women in my life. My mum and my auntie, my mum's sister, they were just always prevalent. Like even little things, if they could see I wasn't like happy or something, they'll take my son for the weekend and give me a bit of a break. And through university, they used to juggle him when I was going to exams, because when I was at uni, I was going to uni, then I was working at a restaurant, and then on the weekends in a nightclub just to sort of get extra money. And my son would go from house to house to house, you know, just to work around. So, you know, within those things, just huge learnings. But without them, you know, like they say, it takes a village to raise a kid, and my oldest boy's definitely been raised by a village. You know, and even not just my mum's side, like my biological dad's side, my Samoan side's been prevalent in my life as well.
Yeah.
So my dad's brothers were very, very, were always in my life. You know, they love my big boy.
Yeah.
Even though, because he looks like me, he acts like me, but he's just a soft, caring person. Like he's been brought up around the right people. He's a great conversationalist. But like I said, also just he got a bit harder than his brothers. But we helped each other grow up. You know, we were growing up together. I was a kid raising a kid. And then when his mum moved to Oz, and it was just me and him. You know, so it's unheard of. I know it's everyone. Well, I've been speaking to people about it that the kids stay with the dad, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, like it's just how I was. Like my whole focus was my boys never calling anyone else dad, and that was, you know, whether it was the right focus or not, I can't say, but that was my focus based on my upbringing and my experience. So,
nice. Yeah, probably just something to think about. Like I guess for. Groups, I think, because I'd say you wouldn't have been the only dad at that age, you know, young there. So maybe that's something to think about, for groups to go, well, maybe we need to start supporting our dads too, not just the mums.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I run a father's funeral.
Yep.
So I think that's an awesome concept, you know, but we need more of those.
Yeah.
We need more of those, and they need to be consistent, you know, because like I said, if they're only having 20 people a month, you're not really going to shift the dial. So if we could have more support and we can get like 100 a month with multiple groups, and then we go towards sort of making that shift that we need to see.
Big impact on it.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll shift a little bit from it because it's just knowing I probably want more now around because if still in the wellness, but I mean, I look at you, bro, you don't get broad shoulders like that. So obviously you've got an outlet, so outside of that, so it's probably good to just understand like what you use when, I guess, bit of want to de-stress. So like, resources or ways that you sort of look after yourself.
Yeah, like also I like pushing weights. I don't like cardio, so I try, you know, but I do partake in cardio. So for me, the exercise is 100% about me. It's a time in my own head. I like training with other people, but if I train with someone, like I've trained at BFT in the morning, at the night I like to train by myself because it's just me in my own head. I find it helps me build mental resilience, build good habits, and I just like clearing things out in my head. Like sometimes working in education is tiring sometimes, especially when you're continually being a voice for Maori and Pasifika and it's continually falling on deaf ears. So sometimes going to the gym and just pushing weights and, I put my headphones in, but a lot of the time there's no music. It's just so people don't talk to me. So, but like it's for me, I'll put my headphones in and it's just me in my own head sort of unpacking the days or thinking about what I need to do or even little things like how I could be a better dad or be a better person. I mean, for me, training's I just enjoy, lifting weights. Not really enjoy cardio, but I still do it because I know it's like important. Like health is important. You know, I want to be around to see my great grandkids, and you're not going to be around seeing your great grandkids if you don't invest in yourself.
It's quite awesome too. Like we recognize ways that probably help us mentally focus. In terms of if I think back to myself, I mean, some people might come in the car. But it's just quiet. But then I'm just so used to that's my thinking time actually when I'm on the road. Distance that I travel is I just prefer to have no music. So it's good to recognize that. One thing I just wanted to sort of go back to, bro, is that the mentoring of how one, we used to have fun at work, but two was also being able to talk, and just the importance of that. Like, sure. I'm not sure whether you've had other groups that you're involved with, like man, trying to push that more because like obviously you've got more out of that. Mentoring comes out of that too. So obviously you mentor a lot of your students in your line of work as well. Yeah,
do a little bit of mentoring and a little bit of business mentoring as well through stuff. But like for me, like I love conversations. I love me and my friends, we call it yarnangas, like just to have a good yarn.
Yarnangas.
But they're important.
Yeah.
Not just for the social side, but also sometimes when I've from personal experience, when you let something little stay in your head and you don't speak it, it becomes bigger and bigger. So the longer it stays in your head, it starts to organically morph into something else. And so I like having these spaces, like friends and small circles that I can talk to, share ideas, talk about problems. It hasn't always been like that. There was like I said, there's always that stigma with men about sharing their problems. And one of those things is, like when I went to Custom Boys, we had this mocking culture, and it still exists. And even when I played Prem Rugby, there was a mocking culture. And, within some of the jokes, there's some realness, and so you don't want to be seen especially in Prem Rugby, everyone's an alpha. You don't want to be seen as a weakling. So, but I think now we need to get away from those narratives and start, promoting a bit more smaller circles and just the sharing of some ideas that might, or some problems or anything, and it comes back. I'm lucky with my circles, so I got small circles. They say to me, like, cause I'm on a te reo journey as well, trying to master the language. Yeah. If you hang around 5 real speakers, you become the 6th. Yeah. That's the same of every aspect in your life. If you want to be a business owner, start hanging around with business owners. If you want to help with youth, start hanging around youth workers, and you organically become a part of those circles as well. There's no point wanting to be a business owner and you're hanging around with people that don't own businesses. Yeah. They're going to laugh at your goals. I mentioned to some of my old circles that I had aspirations of being a CEO, and they laughed. I don't talk to me anymore. That's not, time is the most valuable currency you have. We spend it every day. We never get any in return. So you got to be careful about where you spend your time and energy, especially as you get older. And so for me, I know where I want to go, and I need to start. I spend my time wisely. Like I go where I know I'm valued, or I know someone can offer me value. And that's, I think that's how you start creating your little organic circles.
Oh, nice to, man, that's good encouragement too for just the value and time. Yeah. Probably not guaranteed.
Sure.
Once time's done, bro, she's done. Looking at just around, I guess, your own sporting career, like I think about too how the stigma around that, like the mocking and that. But man, like we all did it, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
Did you ever find like some actually there was mates of yours that probably come back to you and go, bro, that was a bit too deep,
Nah, I was never like that person that went that far.
Yeah.
But there were times where I was like, ooh, like you have a silent word to them, like, ooh, it's probably too far. But like I said, like I can't call out their culture because I was a part of it. I was having little side jokes too. But like I think that whole narrative needs to change, and one way you can change it at a club is changing the culture. And that takes the work of the leaders on the team, the people that people follow. If they set the standard in terms of changing that culture and that narrative, then the rest will follow. Yeah. Every club has leaders, like Watermatta had leaders when I was there, and you could tell the leaders because sometimes people would speak and everyone like shh, but then when the leaders will speak, everyone's focused, listening. And they'll be, example of that, like Sione Lawaki was one of those. Yeah. When he spoke, no one said anything, even the coaches, and that's their leadership. So, I think that's the way sort of like you can sort of just start changing those narratives.
Around the lockdown, bro, like did you manage to go online and be able to carry on your role, or was it kind of all came to a bit of a halt?
Yeah, so before I was a director of Maori strategy engagement for PT. We continued our roles, but I think it was at the expense of mental health, the mental health of and well-being of the staff, and that's probably more fault of the way education system is in terms of results. You get paid on results, and it's results driven. But I found a lot of my time as a director was just being a human and being authentic and talking with staff, because we all went through lockdown together. Sometimes some people act like they went through it by themselves, but we all went through it together, When I was talking with staff and they would have their kids running around in the background, they'll apologize. I don't apologize. Mine are running around too. They're right in front of me. They're just as noisy. This is our current environment. Yeah. But I know we struggled. We went through it, but it wasn't easy. And especially that last 12, 13 week lockdown for Auckland.
Yeah.
I was lucky because I lived in Hamilton, but while Auckland was in lockdown, one of my mates moved to Hastings and I went down and saw him. And we went out in Napier and you would have think COVID didn't exist, bro. And he was buzzing. He's like, I just come out of prison, being in Auckland. And then we went to Napier, went to a pub for dinner and there was 300 people in there. So, I think just Auckland went through a different experience in lockdown and it affected a lot of people, not just kaimahis, workers, students. Students would have had the hardest time. Because you lose that human connection as soon as you go everything online. And then when you guys would know what Teams and Zoom's like, only one person can speak. So, things change, and I hope that's behind us now.
Yeah, bro. It's amazing how we can sit back now and laugh about it. But it's, at the time, bro, it's, I think there was one stage, man, when the levels had dropped in Auckland, you were able to still now travel into the other regions. No, Zach, I know what you mean. It was like, man, it was going into Hamilton. It was like, man, everyone was walking around going, whoa. That was so foreign, bro.
Yeah.
That was crazy. I was like, oh, man, that's like all the restrictions. And then you come in and it's just like everyone's normal.
Yeah, for sure.
Bro. Well, man, I actually enjoyed this one. Was a real good one. And I just love the talk around the mentoring side and that. And you've actually given a lot of good encouragement. But I just want you, just before as we wrap up, bro, just I guess if you've got other encouragement for not just our men, but our communities and people who are listening in, just finish off and then I'll just wrap us up and done.
Yeah, I think the first thing is for our Pasifika men and our Maori men is that the most important investment we can make is the investment into ourselves. And so I don't mean go out and spend money and buy shoes and stuff. I mean investing in your education, and that's formal and non-formal. Investing in your body and your health, because health is wealth. A healthy man, wants a million things. An unhealthy man wants one thing. So always make that investment to yourself. Two is if you can, just be a nice person. Be genuine, support local endeavours, support Maori and Pasifika businesses. Because if a Maori or Pasifika succeeds, we all succeed. And just support them in everything you can do. You don't have to support them if you can't support them financially. Share their posts, share their content. Buy their merch. If they have any days, go and show up and volunteer. There's more than one ways to support. So that's probably the two things top of mind was.
Nice, bro. Being good community people, and I love the supporting local businesses as well. So thanks heaps, bro.
Thank you.
We're coming on to the Organic Talanoa. Just feel like with all my organics, I just feel there's always part two to a lot of the stuff. No doubt, as time goes on, bro, we'll see where we're at. But thank you, everybody that's listened in. Once again, subscribe. If there is resources or support that you think you've come out of this and you'd like to want to be able to touch base with the likes of Dawson or any other type of resource that you think that may be able to help you at the moment, please feel free to just comment. Come back into our Organic Talanoa Facebook page, Organic Talanoa on Insta as well. But once again, thank you for subscribing. And for now, till the next one, Gora.
Yeah, my man. This one's for you and you and you. And you and you and you. This one's for you and you and you.
Da 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 da.